function is also very crucial. The domain names and IP addresses help us navigate the internet. I think I explained that. So your IP address is like your PO box, or if you go to the telephone directory, it's like your phone number that is listed in the telephone directory. So when somebody mentions your number, +233 plus the other ones, it is unique to you. So anybody else around the world can punch that number, but it always gets back to you. That is using the numbers. But in a telephone directory, your name would be the one that's appearing there. So that is how the systems work. So the domain names and the IP addresses, you know what IP addresses are. The Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers helps coordinate these two together and makes navigation of the internet very easy for everyone. The numbers, the names, put them together and ensure a stable, secure, and a unified global network. So that is what ICANN does. And now, like Madam said, we are working with them to ensure that people are able to understand this as AAU members, institutions, and to implement, not just understand, implement, learn and implement them in their teaching, in their work that they do. So that when they leave school, they are knowledgeable enough to implement such systems wherever they work. So these are the way it's just a breakdown of how the systems work. We have the protocols. This one tells us that the site is secured, HTTP, hypertext transfer protocol in a secure way. Then the label, the www or whatever. Then there is a label. Now we see the .org. We have labeled it as GTLD, top level domain, but it is generic for organizations. You can have .net. It is generic for organizations that are networks. You can have it for corporations that we have, or companies that we have the .com. So the G there means generic. For educational institutions, we normally will have EDU or Africa or AC, academic. So you understand that it is an educational institution. Then we have country code. Ghana, we have .gh. In Nigeria will be .ng. These are the top level domains that we are talking about. It should be able to be identified by whichever script you are using to be able to reach them. So if somebody in Egypt wants to come to search, I'm trying to advance sometimes, do a search for people in Ghana and wants to use a code that should come to Ghana and work within the country, the person will be looking at the G.gh code, that's the country code. And the person is using either Arabic, Spanish, or whatever script, the person should still be able to get to Ghana. All right. So this is the domain name, but they also are helping us to streamline the way email addresses are also working. So you have the IDN and you have the EAI. The EAI is email address internationalization. So we have mailbox user at example dot. You see the final part. The final part of the email address. You see, it's not in English. The final part of the email address. So if you look at my name at AAU dot instead of org, you see it's a different script. Okay. Because it's a different script, that didn't mean that I should not be able to get to this person with the email address. You should be able to get to that person. So that's one of the reasons why we are saying that our systems must begin to accept every other script that is available and acceptable online. The Unicode transformational format, UTF, allows this to happen. I don't want to be using a lot of technical terms. Although you are IT guys, I want this to be as simple as possible. So sometimes I'll go very low. I'll not mention certain. So we have user at, so my name, AAquality at aau.org. But if we are compliant, UA compliant, I can, instead of typing org, I can go and look for a Chinese or a Japanese way of writing org and put there. The system should still be able to get to me if I send a mail to myself. So you can do that and see if your system is able to do that. Then it is UA compliant. If it's not, then there must be something that you need to do about your system. Okay, so for those students who are here, that's an assignment I'm giving you. There are spaces here. There are spaces also that side. Like if you sit here, I might be blocking you. So I think you will sit to that side. Okay. You get my point. So the students here, it's a challenge I'm throwing to you. When you go back, please, let's see how your system works. If it's not working, there are things you can do. So when it's time for the workshop, come and learn. It's also free to attend. The workshop is free to attend. Nobody is going to be charged for anything. But help your institution, even before you leave the institution, help the institution to become UA compliant. Are you getting along with me? If there are questions, please let's know. You are going to go slow. It's supposed to be a conversation. Okay. So that is that. So for the ICANN, they are doing the IDN for domain names, internationalization of domain names, and they are doing email address internationalization. So for email addresses and then for your domains, that's your website, you should be able to have UA acceptance, universal acceptance compliance in both of them. So you know that initially for all this while, you have mostly used .com, .org, .net. That has been the top level domains. That has been, and people rattle them off head. Okay, people rattle them off head. They know all about .com, .org, .net, what. Basically 3 letters. That has been the trend for a long time. But now, these top level domains and the way they are developing is supposed to allow for over 1,200 new generic. So now we have others like lending, photography, so many other names are coming up, not just the 3-letter ones that are generic. So if somebody wants to do, for instance, search for photography, things in photography, they can do the .photography thing and search within that community for photographs. There's even, I think, the .pharmacy where you can do that and search for communities within the pharmaceutical industry. So you don't need to do company again. You don't need to do .org again. You don't need to do the .net again. There are other top-level domains that are coming up. And some of them are not in English. See these ones? They are not in English. They are not in the normal scripts that we know, the ASCII characters. They are different. So others that are in different or different languages or scripts. This one is in Chinese. This one is in Arabic. Must also be understood and be acceptable within networks, because we are talking about internationalization. It's no more localized. We are talking about going on to the international or global level. So we need to have these things accepted within. The next round of the generic ones will continue to expand the domain name ecosystem and give new opportunities to the next billion people waiting to access through other language apart from the ones that we know. So now we are forward thinking. We are not trying to solve problems for today. We are thinking ahead of time. And we want to accommodate any other person who would want to use or make use of the internet. Before 2009, these were the ones we knew. Popular ones. .com, .org, .aero, .mobi, .info, .edu, .net, .asia, .travel. These are some of the examples of the ones that we knew. Now, the new ones that are coming up that we need to accommodate. And you see, it is understandable that we accommodate them because you realize Chinese, for instance, is the most spoken language. So we can't. I was sitting behind somebody. We were traveling and he was using Chinese. He was using this chat. I don't know how many characters the Chinese language has. Does anybody know how many characters the Chinese language have? We have 26 for alphabets. You know how many they have? You know how many characters the Ethiopian language has? They say they have over 200 and something. We have 26 and we struggle with the 26. So if somebody has 200 and something characters, and sometimes the position of the character even changes how it is written. Okay, so these are things that we need to consider. So from 2009 onwards, we were having these ones here coming on board. Now, beyond 2012, we are even having more. Now the .bank, .bar, .car, all these ones. You see, they are all coming up now. And it will keep expanding. It will keep expanding as people fine-tune the area to which they want to create a domain for. So as we want to be forward-looking, we want to make sure that our systems are also coming on board and able to assess all these things that we are seeing. Are they seeing the screen online? Okay. So initially, again, also on email addresses were not available in the local language scripts. So in Ghana, I don't know who has their email address in the local language or have characters for Ghana, Eve, Dagbon, Akan, whichever. I don't know how many of us have email addresses that contain those characters. Do you even use them? See, that's the problem I have with the current generation. They have decided not to learn about their language. But we don't use them. But now these are becoming crucial that people begin to use because that is the only way they can assess and make some use of the things that the benefits that the internet brings to people. Okay, we need to accommodate them so they can also have access. So that is the other component of it that we call the email address internationalization. I talk about it, the EAI. It addresses the limitations inherent with the internet ecosystem, the mailing system, and allows people using local scripts to be able to have access to email addresses and be able to communicate using that. Internationalized email addresses are not related to the text in the body of the email. It is just a way to allow them to connect from one person to another person. So the email address is what we are concerned here with, not what you put in your text. The email address to allow you to be able to reach another person, even though you are writing that in a localized script or language. That's what we are interested in. Whatever else you want to put in the body of your conversation, we are not interested. We are only interested in connecting you with other people on the internet. That is what the EAI is about, email address internationalization. You know Tim Berners-Lee, Every IT person should know the person. If I call him the father of internet, then he says that the web does not just connect machines, it connects people. So that should also stick in the back of our heads. The web or internet is not just to connect one piece to another piece. It is supposed to connect people. Okay, so we can communicate with somebody. Now, because of WhatsApp, we can do a call, video call, and talk to somebody who is so many miles away from you. And you can communicate, do business, and within minutes, you have finished your business. Now, you don't need to travel from one point to another point. So if you're not using WhatsApp and you want to use other protocols, you should be able to get to that also and be able to use it. Unfortunately, this map is not showing very well. Let me see if I can go to this one is better. So if I point out to this one here, what do you think the EG would stand for? Good. That's a country code, step level domain. Okay. So straight away, if you look at the web address or the email address of somebody, you can see which country the person is coming from, isn't it? If I look around again and I look at somebody here, TN will tell me where it's Tunisia. See how it is like. So this is how we are moving forward with the universal acceptance, compliance in systems, not just on just websites, but in systems within the institution. Let me just give an example. If the institution has a learning management system, okay, and wants everybody within the institution to be able to access. They normally will give you a password and a username, isn't it? But do you realize that most of the institutions would also include in your username your institutional link? So your domain name is in the username. So a student name at the institution.edu.gh or something like that. Now, wherever you are, even outside of the institution network, that name there, that link there allows you to directly access the information, because the systems would recognize immediately that you are coming from where? From that institution. But now, if you don't write that same email address in the English language and you want to use a local language, would it accept it? It will not, because it's not compliant. So if I want to be, let me say, I just want to be experimental, and instead of writing my institutional email address as a way to access the systems within the house, I go online and I go to translate.google.org. Then I write my name and say, give it to me in Hindi language or Sanskrit. That's the language, I think, yeah. Or in a Mandarin language or Korean. And then I copy that and then I go and paste in my systems to try to access my office mails. And it doesn't allow me to do that. Then my system is not universally acceptance compliant. It's not universal acceptance compliant. You get my point? So these are the things that you need to think about now. If a student comes from China to, for instance, ATU, and the person is now learning the language, the English language, so he's still comfortable with the Chinese scripts. Okay. And so instead of writing what he's trying to learn in English and he writes it in Chinese language, will your system be able to allow that new student from China to access the things he's able to access? These are things you need to think about, because you are internationalizing your schools, your institutions. You want people from other countries to come in there. If somebody comes from the Swahili language or the Xhosa language and wants to use that, how would they be able to accept or enter your system? So these are the things we are looking at. These are the top level domains for the generic ones that we have spoken about, the .com, .net. These are other ways that people are writing them now. The .com, .net, .edu, the generic ones, .photograph, .africa. Now we have .africa. Do you realize you have .africa now? These are other ways that people are going to write them. So how would these various scripts be interpreted within the systems and help them to, this is Russian, I guess. This is Russian, you know? I don't know where all these other ones are coming from. So that is what we are talking about now. All this must be acceptable. All this must be acceptable within your systems. Okay? Within your systems, and your system must be able to interpret them and point them to the right sources so that users can make use of these ones. More of them. We are in interesting times. All right. So the checks used by many software applications to validate domain names and email addresses remain outdated. That's one of the challenges we have. That is why we say they are not universal acceptance compliant. People they keep developing applications, but they don't think about this aspect of the usage and how people can access their platforms. So when people are designing programs now, we are urging that they take note of these challenges and make sure the systems you are developing, the apps that you are developing, if it's a mobile app or whatever you want to develop, make sure you are thinking about not just your immediate users. If you want to think about globally, about other people outside your sphere who would make use of these systems, begin to think about universal acceptance compliance for your systems. In addition, not all online portals are primed or are made available for opening of a user account with a related email address. So this leaves a lot of people unable to navigate internet using their language and online identity. This is also another challenge we are looking at. Technical compliance best practice, UA. If you use it, it solves these issues and ensures that all valid domain names and email addresses are available, and they can help people who are using internet-enabled applications to get to do all the things they need to do. All right. So now this site, for instance, I spoke about this. You go to a lot of sites and they say send us information, and then when you click, these things pop up. Do you see them? Have you been to a site and we have come to a point at this where we say we are trying to contact managers of the sites, and then they say, okay, send a mail here. You click and it pops up, and you begin to write. If this is how I can write in Arabic, and your system is not compliant, can I get back to you? Can I get to you for extra information? It's not possible to do that. So simple things that we have been ignoring for a long time now. Now, internationalization requires that we begin to think beyond our local sphere, beyond our comfort zones, and begin to ensure that we are developing systems, or we are upgrading our systems. If we can't develop new ones, we are upgrading them to become UA compliant. Okay. ASCII keys allows up to 256 characters. 256 characters. So there's a limitation. I spoke about the Ethiopian language that they say they have over 206 characters. 206 characters. So if you're going to have lowercase and uppercase, that doubles it at least. You see the point? And this can only handle up to 256. So where will we get the other ones that we haven't spoken about? It limits, for example, it limits our usage of characters for other languages. So that is where the Unicode comes in, because the Unicode allows you to expand to over 1 million characters. So all the other language characters that we can't even think about now would have some accommodations to be able to help with that. So you see them, .sky.engineering. I can't read this one. But others too, .site, you see, so all these characters, and people can write it like this. They can write in different combinations. So whichever combinations they put it together, the system must still be able to interpret and send it to wherever it is. So you see that ASCII is A to Z in caps, A to Z, and then the digits 0 to 9. Then the special characters, comma, colon, this other one. But it's limited. It's so limited. But Unicode supports of global languages and scripts because of their ability to accommodate that much characters in the combinations. So we prefer that people now begin to look at using this one in their coding instead of that. And there are ways to store your information also either using this or using that. There are ways to transfer them. We will talk about them sometime along the line. They don't want to do a lot of technical things. You do that in the, what they call the workshop. Yeah. So let's go, and now everybody take. Did we show the Wi-Fi code? Did we show it? We're able to pick it up. Okay, please. Let's do a little experiment. So to log on to our network, and then you go to this site. Let's first look at the username and the. So you will see the SSID as AU NetApp. The SSID is AU. Any of them. Yes, this is the same. There are two. We are broadcasting on two frequencies, 2.4 or 5. So the username is AUBM, and then password is AU. Go online. When you have all finished, I'll go back to that page. I want you to test to see whether your institutional address is UA compliant. The institution has a website, isn't it? We use the institutional website first, and let's see whether you are all compliant. If you are not, that's the next thing I want you to do, so that when you come back for the workshop, I want to see what has been done. Okay, so the address is at the top there, uasg.tech/EAI. So your institutional email. Those who do not have institutional emails, you can just forget. I don't want the Gmail. I don't want the Yahoo. It should be the institutional email. So if you have been given an institutional address, email address, your username. I want to see the first person who comes out, and let's see whether, yeah, the email address is here at the top here. Eugene is supported. Okay. University of Ghana, congratulations. AIT is supported. Okay, good. ATU, Bimpa.
Hello. How are you? Speaking. I'm alright. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I supported.
Yeah.
Is supported.
No. What do you mean?
Any more? Any more? This question is compliant. Okay. So why I'm doing it? Some of my bosses will have to leave, eh? So we will just pause briefly. We'll take a group picture here, and then they can leave. Okay. So let's move quickly forward here. Let's stand. We have 3 levels. Let's stand on the 3 levels. Let's take a picture. Please take your t-shirts and put it in front of you, because we post online. So if you can wear it, just take it out and put it in front of you so they can see. Because we are going to do this also as a promotion. We are going to take a good picture. So take a look at it. Are you done? No, madam has to go. Put it on your. Oh, okay. Madam has to leave, so we want to take a picture. So we can have 3 levels. Let's do this quickly, and then we'll go.
Silent deaths have no alarm, and this is the law of the jungle. The strong will be the ruler. Here we can clearly see the separating two lines of the hunter and the hunted.